All right. So here we are at the Rochester WordPress Meetup, and we're going to start with introductions. So Trevor, I'm going to let you go first and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Trevor Johnson-Steigelman. I have a relatively new e-commerce site called physicsposters.com. I just sold a few stickers the other day for the first time to myself, but but I'm excited to hear more about e-commerce.
So basically, you're your ideal client, I guess.
Yes, I am.
Trisha, let's go to you.
Hi, you're going to be serenaded by my kids playing or practicing behind me.
I love it.
I'm Trisha Isham. I build WordPress websites for clients. I am on the organizing committee for WordPress Rochester. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Sorry, all this distraction.
For WordCamp Rochester.
Yes, thank you. And in the past, I worked for a gentleman building websites for him, and he did a lot of e-commerce, and I just did what he told me to. So I'm just here to learn a little bit more.
Fantastic.
Cool.
So always happy to see you, Trisha. Julie, you're next.
Okay. Well, I'm a marketing person who got thrown into doing WordPress, and I manage one website that has no e-commerce, but we are opening up a secondary business that will eventually have a need to have commerce through that site. So this is a good head start for that. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. Awesome. Diana, you're next.
Okay, I'm Diana Robinson, or Diana Gardner Robinson, whichever. I have two websites. I've had to move both of them twice, which has been a nightmare. And I will very shortly be hooking one of them up with WordPress PayPal. So I'm interested in this. It's one of the things on my to-do list before I can launch. And I'm so glad it's taken me so long to do it, because in the last week I have completely changed the color scheme and about everything else. And I think it looks twice as professional as it did before.
Even better then.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Jim, you're next.
Just wanted to, I needed to unmute myself. Can you hear me?
We do, yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was having trouble with this mic before. I'm Jim Ector. I have a wood turning business. I have a couple sites. I have a general information site, and then I have an e-commerce site. And because of the pandemic, I make fiber tools, spinning wheels and drop spindles and all sorts of things for the fiber industry, people who like to spin yarn.
Oops, I think we lost Jim. All right. I don't know if you can hear us, Jim, but we'll come back to you. Sarah, let's move it over to you and we'll come back to Jim. Or it's me.
A lot of business to my store. And then on the other hand, I also teach and demonstrate wood turning. So I am interested in, we have used gravity forms for a per fee class that I offered as a fundraiser for an organization. But I want to figure out the best way to set up online classes that I can sell, via Zoom, where people will come to the class and then after the fact resell them, where they can, have access, whether it be YouTube or wherever I should host it. So that's what I'm interested in. So I sell product and I want to sell classes.
That's exciting stuff.
It is. His work is beautiful too. Sarah, you're next.
Hi, I'm Sarah. As we already established, I live in Phelps, which is out opposite side of Michelle. Since last fall, I've mostly been working as a technical writer, so I'm doing WordPress work on the side, and that I think right now I have a lot more volunteer projects than paying projects, which is okay. I'm a webmaster for a bunch of different groups, and I've done a little bit with e-commerce, but I don't have any full-fledged e-commerce sites going on. So interested to hear more.
Definitely. And Sarah is also one of the organizers for WordCamp Rochester. Yep. So, and then Kathy, you're next. I don't know if she can hear me. Kathy, you're muted.
My name's Kathy Ector, and I am the better half of Jim Ector. And Sarah, I gotta say, I don't know what lighting you're using, but it looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 websites. Both are currently using Gravity Forms to generate revenue by quilt take-ins. I do long arm quilting for people, and right now people are going through the form, filling it out, and dropping their quilts off or sending them to me, and then I take and send them back to them. More importantly, whatever I learned tonight is going to go in helping Jim, because Jim's going to say, now what did they say and how am I supposed to do this? So that's probably the more important reason that I'm here tonight.
She's a good note taker.
I unfortunately am down to about a half an eye. I've got an eye infection, so I'm partially blind tonight. So that's why I have an official note taker.
And Randy,
I'll speak very carefully.
Well, Randy's audio connects. I will introduce myself. I think everybody knows me, but I'm Michelle Frechette. I am the head of customer success for Give WP and the podcast barista at WP Coffee Talk. And I love doing both of those things. I also volunteer within the WordPress community in multiple ways, including being on the newest named team for the next major release of WordPress, which is 5.6, which is going to be an all-female release squad. So that's very exciting. So Topher's daughter is going to be on that. So I'll be working with Sophia. Yeah. And then I also work with Topher's wife at on the stuff for WordCamp US. So we're all kind of interconnected, and it's a beautiful thing. Randy, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then I'm going to turn it over to Topher.
I'm Randy.
What do you do with WordPress?
So I'm Randy Lang, relaunching a web development company, so it's Pipe Dream Design Works, offering a whole slew of stuff like we all do, including analytics and like KPI stuff. So that'd be like Tabula and like that, and it's growing. I'm coming up with new services as I'm growing. So that's what I'm doing. My day job is still a system administrator for a local hospital. I guess that's is that good? That's good. I'm always
that
better
works.
with intros.
That
That'll
works. Yeah, for sure. And it's just one person that's good. I'm sending a Zoom link too. But Topher, go ahead and start introducing yourself, and
All right.
we'll get started in just a minute or two.
All right. Yeah, so my name is Topher DeRosia. I have actually a slide that goes along with this introduction. But before I get there, I want to say a lot of the stuff you've described about what you're doing with e-commerce is really fascinating to me. And I'm really excited to talk to you about it. My topic doesn't specifically address most of what I heard. So I'm going to go through it, but I would like to spend quite a bit of time at the end just doing question and answer about the kind of stuff that you're building.
That'd be perfect.
Because it sounds really, really cool.
Yeah, and we just had Jamin join us from India. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, just a quick introduce yourself really quickly, and then we're gonna have Topher go ahead and get started.
So I'm Jamin. I'm from India. I'm a designer, and very recently over the weekend we had organized WP CouchCon, which kind of was a Desi virtual conference, and essentially I design websites and mobile apps.
Fantastic. Thank you.
What city are you from?
Mumbai.
Ah, okay. Cool. All right, so I'm going to
Excellent.
share my screen here.
Yep, and if everybody else could just mute for this, and if you have questions specific, you can type them in the chat, and then we can interrupt Topher at appropriate times. Thanks.
All right, you can see my screen all right?
Yes.
I just noticed some new features in Zoom since the last time I did this. I can now share my computer audio, and I can optimize for video. So if I wanted to play a video for you, I could.
Apparently
really painful.
They're upgrading everything with all that money they've got since COVID started.
Yeah. All right, so let's get going. We're going to talk about demystifying e-commerce. Different parts of it are mysterious to different people, and we're going to cover a whole bunch of them. So, as I said, my name is Topher DeRosia. Topher's the second half of Christopher. I'm a senior developer advocate at BigCommerce, which is an e-commerce SaaS. So our most similar competitor would be Shopify. We have a hashtag there. You can see it, BC4WP. I tweet about e-commerce there a lot. So if you want to follow that hashtag, you can keep up. You can find me online at Topher1Kenobi, just about anywhere. Google, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Slack, you name it. That's my handle. I've been a web developer for 25 years now, and a WordPress developer for 10 years, almost exactly. I should blog about that. Our agenda this evening, we're going to look at some common misconceptions, and we'll go through the basics of e-commerce, how it works, and the process, what's really happening behind the scenes when you do e-commerce. We'll look at some solutions to common concerns, and then we'll look at some long-term solutions as well, things beyond just tips and tricks, things that you should establish for your business. So let's look at some misconceptions. Boy, it's been almost a month now. On May 12th, I tweeted, "What's one thing about e-commerce that scares you or makes you nervous?" And I pinged some people that are movers and shakers in e-commerce to see what they would have to say. And we got stuff back like this. "I'm nervous I won't set up and manage taxes correctly." That is not mine, but that is what I said before I started doing this. What if I get sued because we're hacked and things go south? I worry that I won't have all my I's dotted and T's crossed from all the little settings, payment processing, taxes, shipping, and inventory. And then taxes would be the death of me. So I have a short story about how I got into this. In the early 2000s, I was an accomplished web developer, but I'd never done e-commerce. And one of my clients came to me and said, "Hey, I want to sell stuff online." And I thought, I can do that. How hard can it be? Payment gateways have documentation, and I know PHP. Should be able to do that, right? After about a week of sleepless nights, and now I am bald, I realized that e-commerce is not for me. And I said, I'm never going to do this again. And about the same time, a wise friend said to me that even if you got it right, even if you did this, what are you going to do? You, Topher, what are you going to do 5 years from now when they come back to you and say, "Hey, our site just got hacked and we lost $500,000. And I didn't have an answer. I was young, freelancing, supporting a family, and I did not have an answer for what would happen if that blew up and went sideways that bad. And I said, I will never, ever do e-commerce again. So now I work at an e-commerce company, which I never thought would happen. But the world is different now. People have solved a lot of those terrible problems to the extent that BigCommerce is a SaaS, and it's not even as hard as WordPress, where you have to set stuff up. You just sign up and send in your money, and you have a store. It's much easier these days, and that makes me happy. Because I think e-commerce is cool, and I would like to be involved. I do like being involved, but not the way it used to be. So let's look at some demystifying. Let's look first at the customer-facing process. A lot of things happen that you may not think about. The first thing that happens in an e-commerce transaction is the customer becomes aware. They find out about your store. Maybe somebody sends them a link. Maybe they see it on TV, in an email. Who knows? Word of mouth. The customer has to find your store. Then they have to find your products inside your store. So, you need a good search. You need a good hierarchy for categories and brands and all of that. And next, the customer chooses a product. This is not a small feat. If you're building a website, you have to set up a way for someone to click something and have something stored in a cookie or session and maintain state over multiple pages till they get to the checkout. And then there's the purchase. And these days, people pay via credit card or digital payments like PayPal, or even services. There's one called Klarna, which is similar to layaway or maybe like a micro loan, except the store owner gets all of the money up front. So they're not doing the loan. They're not taking any of the risk. Klarna does. So that it provides a way for the store owner to offer these microloans without taking any of the risk. And then there's shipping. Shipping is different than it used to be. Shipping now is different from what it was 4 months ago. The other day, I got an email that said, hey, your product is nearing your home. Click here to view. And I clicked and it brought up a Google map and it showed the UPS truck on a map 2 blocks from my house moving toward me, like Uber or Lyft. And that was amazing. I don't remember that before the pandemic. So shipping is really changing. Delivery. Delivery is different now too. I get a photo from the UPS guy of the picture of the package on my front door. That didn't used to happen either. And then there's a bunch of post-delivery stuff that you don't really think about as a consumer, but you must think about as a seller. You need to send a thank you email. You need to have return and exchange options. You should probably be offering them a discount for the next time they come visit. You want to create a relationship with that customer. People are way more inclined to buy a second time than they are a first time. So once you get somebody who has bought a first time, you really want to make a friend out of that person. So what happens behind the scenes? Do you ever really think about what a payment processor is doing? They're interfacing between your website and the customer and your bank. So somebody like Authorize.net or Stripe, they take the money from the customer, validate the transaction, keep it secure, and then they send money to your bank account. And somewhere in there, taxes get paid. And you have to have software set up to do taxes. After payment is processed, there are all kinds of custom things that happen. If you're using accounting or inventory software, it's possible for your e-commerce setup to make those aware of what just happened. So you don't have to log every sale into QuickBooks. Your e-commerce software should do that for you. And then at the end of the month, it just spits out, hey, you had 87 sales for $10,000 and you owe $3,000 in taxes, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's shipping that you need to manage if you're doing physical products. So you need to have a relationship with UPS or FedEx or the USPS or something and actually pack stuff in a box and mail it away. If you're small time and you're doing this out of your house or your basement, then you are literally packing stuff in a box. I built a site one time for the guy that sells frozen soup. It comes in a plastic bag, so you just put the whole plastic bag in boiling water, and it cooks the soup. But because it's frozen, he has to get it to the customer frozen. And so when a sale comes in, he would drive to the grocery store and buy a foam cooler and a couple of pounds of dry ice, and then go back to his shop and do math to figure out how much ice he would need, because that changes the price of the weight and all that. It was just horrible. I don't know why he was selling online. But again, it's much easier now than it used to be. So let's look at some solutions to all this stuff. I've described a lot of things that sound pretty hard and not fun at all. But as I mentioned earlier, things are way better than they used to be. Security. You need to be secure. You need your website to be secure. You should start with all the normal stuff. Get iTheme Security Pro or WordFence or Security or something like that. Then you want to host with good engineering and good support. And I don't just mean like 24/7 available, but people who really know what they're talking about. So you can call and say, hey, the IRS just told me this about my website. What can you help me with? And they say, oh, we have experience with that. You need to check your PCI compliance. And if you don't know what that is, you probably shouldn't be selling online yet. Do some research, go to Wikipedia. Basically, it's a very long list of rules about how you can store credit card information. And the real solution, in my opinion, is that you should not store credit card information. And then you are automatically compliant. Something like WooCommerce and Gravity Forms are going to store it. And so you need to understand what's going on there. So like I said, just don't store sensitive data on the web server and you're good. You should enable fraud protection and distributed denial of service protection. Fraud protection usually comes from the e-commerce platform, and there's minimal things that you need to do. Something like Gravity Forms is not going to have that because it's not an e-commerce platform. It's a Forms plugin that lets you sell stuff. PayPal, through Gravity Forms, will do a lot of fraud protection, which is good. But you should be aware of what fraud protection means and how to enable it. And distributed denial of service protection is going to come from probably your host or something like Cloudflare or Security. And that basically just keeps bad actors from bringing down your website out of spite. Taxes. How do I manage taxes correctly? There's two ways to manage taxes: manually and to get a service. And I can tell you right now, you should never do it manually. It's horrible, and the chances of getting wrong are very, very high. When I started working at BigCommerce, I took the Ninja support training. And as part of it, they made us set up some taxes for part of Oklahoma. Oklahoma has something like several hundred tax zones per county. And if you're in Oklahoma or selling in Oklahoma, you have to set it up for all of them. And it's ridiculous. So Avalara and TaxJar are two very common companies. You can use them pretty much with any platform. Avalara is much more international than TaxJar. And in my opinion, just a better product all around. But pick one, find out which one works for you, and pay whatever they ask because it's worth it. It's not that bad. It's if you're selling decently, it's not going to be a problem at all. But then consult a business tax professional for your geographic area. Taxes online are complicated. There's just no two ways about it. And every place is different. In some states, you have to pay taxes based on where you're selling. So if I live in Michigan, like I do, but I'm selling in Texas, I have to pay Texas taxes. Oh, which is an interesting word. Other states, say if I'm living in Ohio, but I'm selling in Oklahoma, I have to pay Ohio taxes. And in very few states, you have to pay in both ends. And I can't tell you which ones those are. I'm not a tax professional. So you should talk to somebody local to you and somebody preferably who has experience with online taxes and say, this is where I live. This is where I'm selling. Who do I have to pay taxes to? So payment processing. There are a ton of options. Well, there used to be just a few. I did Authorize.net in the early 2000s because it was kind of the only one. It was that and PayPal. And PayPal was not cool then. These days, there are literally hundreds of options. And you should do some research and figure out which ones are good for you. There is a reason that Stripe and PayPal are amongst the most popular. They are very flexible and they work just about everywhere. But if you're going to sell in other countries, you should look at what they use. Adyen is one I had never heard of until I started dealing with international sales, and they work with a lot of international sales. Places like the Netherlands have only one. It's their national payment gateway, and if you don't use that one, you don't sell in the Netherlands. So if you're going to, you should learn about that one. But don't just look at processing fees. Those are important, but there are other things to be considered. Look at what currencies are handled. Make sure they work with your bank. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, hey, my friend's uncle made a payment processor and they're only going to charge me 0.5%. So I want to use it, but it doesn't work with any bank yet. I'm like, oh, sorry, that's not going to work out. So make sure they work with your bank. And all the ones you see on the screen here are going to. So all of the major ones will. But if you choose something a little more fringe, you should check with your bank. How do I set up the right shipping? I'm a big fan of using a shipper you're already familiar with. If you're already using FedEx or UPS, stick with them. You are their customer and they value that. So if you call them up and say, hi, I've been a valued customer for 5 years now. I'm going to start selling online. What can you do for me? You might get lowered shipping rates, that sort of thing. If you're not already using somebody, shop around for rates. See which one is going to be cheaper. And then form a relationship with the shipper. If you're selling stuff out of your basement and you're packing those boxes and sending them out, then the UPS person's probably going to come to your house every single day. You'll get a company representative. You can call them and say, hi, here's my customer ID number, and tell them your story. What do you need? You need, cheaper rates. You need bigger boxes. Suddenly your new product is 10 feet by 12 feet. How are you going to mail that? They can help you with all that stuff. Leverage what your platform offers. So I work for BigCommerce. We have relationships set up with UPS and FedEx and USPS. So we can offer you lower rates than if you approach them directly. And then many of the setup procedures are streamlined. So if you want to use UPS with BigCommerce, you just go to the right page in your admin area and put in your address, and it's pretty much ready to go. So I would pick your platform first and then look at shipping, because you can see what your platform offers to you, and it can be a big deal if you're selling or you're shipping a lot. Inventory management. There's a couple of things here. Simple options come with pretty much every platform ever. If nothing else, you put in how many you have to start with, and it counts down as you sell. But as you get more advanced, it is possible to get add-ons for just about every platform that can integrate over an API with software. So if you have a warehouse full of widgets, and somebody buys one, then it can send a message to the warehouse saying, hey, you have one less than you used to because it was sold. And it can help a lot with, I can't think of the word, buying the right number for next month. We'll call it whatever that is. So let's look at some long-term confidence issues. You should get a good support structure. And I don't just mean being able to call somebody. You want to work with an e-commerce platform that has very smart people working for it, where you can get financial advice and business advice and marketing help. They will come with training and education, and they want you to do well. They want to help you excel with your store, because the better you do, the better they do. So this is sort of a pitch against something like WooCommerce or just selling with Gravity Forms. Those are great for an MVP, but in the end, it makes you the expert. And if you're not an expert, then you have no expert. And that's an awkward position to be in. If you work with something like BigCommerce, then you're going to end up with a team of people who know what they're doing, who want to help you. So find a good support structure. And that might be your site developer as opposed to your e-commerce platform. If you hire a firm to build an e-commerce store for you, maybe they're the people you rely on. You have options. Which leads us to getting a good team. For custom work, a developer can save both time and money, and a lot of it. Learning to do this yourself is admirable, and if you want to make a living selling stores, that's great. But if you just want to sell stuff, I don't recommend diving in too deep and learning how to build e-commerce stores. It is complicated, it is delicate, and should be left to an expert, really. You can rely on, so say you get a developer or a firm or something to build your site, you can rely on them to make quality recommendations about, say, payment gateway or a shipper. They can say, hey, we have experience with this and it's not a good experience. We recommend this other thing over here. And then a good developer will help you know what questions are good to ask. So for example, they may come to you and say, your site's going to need X. So you should go to your e-commerce provider and say, such and such a question. We need to know these 4 things. And they'll even probably help you write an email. And then away that goes to the e-commerce provider, and they send back exactly the right answers, which you would never have known to ask. But a good team behind you can really streamline the setup. So, summary. My number one thing is you can do this. It's not that hard. There are a lot of things to look at, but these days they're all well documented. Help is available either in docs or personal support. There are lots of people who want to help you succeed now, whereas in the early 2000s when I was doing it, there just weren't. Every service, vendor, and add-on maker in e-commerce benefits from your success. If you're successful, they're all successful. They want to help you. Do not be afraid to talk to them. They want more than anything to help you because literally they make their money from your success. If you're paying them, $10 a month and quit because you can't figure it out, that's $10 a month they don't have anymore. So absolutely ask, and ask often, ask everything. That's what they're there for. You're welcome to contact me at any time on any platform, not just BigCommerce. I'm a WordPress guy first, and I'm going to help you out with WordPress. You can email me, topher@bigcommerce.com. You can find me at Topher1Kenobi just about anywhere. We have a Slack channel set up just for people who develop with BigCommerce. Develop anything. So even if you're just thinking, hey, maybe someday I would want a WordPress store using BigCommerce, you can get into that Slack and ask questions. And it's primarily peer-based, so it's not support, but you're going to be talking to other people who have done this and have experience and want to help you out. I put some resources here. I can send those later in email if you want. The BigCommerce blog is not platform specific. It is very much about e-commerce in general, and it is amazing. I was extremely proud of it the first time I saw it, knowing that I was an employee there. It is about e-commerce. It is about business, and it really doesn't matter at all what platform you're using. It's going to be super, super valuable. I highly recommend reading it. There's a partners page there that I've linked to. We have 2 kinds of partners. They're technical partners who build apps for our store, but then there are also agency partners who build stores for people. So if you want a store, you can hire them. But then if you want to be a developer, so maybe you're already a WordPress developer, you want to start building e-commerce for people, you can become a partner, an agency partner, and you get better access to support, and you get behind the scenes information about what's coming. And the cherry on top is you get 30% of the merchant's payment to BigCommerce per month. So if they're paying $30 a month for their store, then you would get $9. And as it grows and they start paying more, you get 30%. So it continues to grow. So you want to become an e-commerce developer, this is a really great track. And then bonus reading, I have their section on e-commerce customer experience. A lot of what I used in this talk came from that blog post. And they do a much deeper dive. So that's a great place to read. And that's it. That is my presentation.
Awesome. Well, we've got some questions that have been typed in the chat, so we'll read them off to you, and then the person can follow up with additional questions if they'd like. But Kathy's asking,
Okay.
Hold on, I just lost my chat. There it is. Kathy says,
Okay.
what do you know about shipping via Shippo or Pirate Ship? Do you know anything about
Nothing
those
at
two
all.
services? All right then.
So
Kathy, there's your
I
answer.
can tell you,
That's a lot of help. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here for you. But you can Google the word BigCommerce and just about any shipping platform in the world, and it will tell you whether or not it's supported. So I just did Shippo, and I am on the Shippo app page for BigCommerce, and it has got 4.5 or 4.0 out of 5 stars with 29 reviews. So apparently Shippo works great with BigCommerce.
There you go.
And that would work kind of with any platform. I'm not going to talk too much about the other guys, but if you did Google for Shopify and Shippo, you'll find out if they support it as well.
Gotcha.
And then
thank you.
Yeah.
And then Miroslav is asking, when you sell physical things, how do you figure out the shipping rates? Would I have to go to the Canada Post Office, UPS, FedEx, etc., with one of each item for them to weigh the items, size the items, etc.? So how does that work?
That varies depending on the platform you're using. If you're using something like WooCommerce, then the plugin is going to do a little bit of the work, but you are probably going to have a scale in your office and be weighing things and slapping stickers on boxes and stuff. If you work with a larger platform like BigCommerce or Shopify, their integrations are much, much tighter. And you can do things like take a photo of the box and fill in the information for weight, and someone will just show up and slap a sticker on the box for you and take it away. So it really does vary by what platform you're using to sell with, all the way from very manual to very automated.
Usually you have to know how much it weighs, though. Is that correct? Or at least have
Yeah, you have to know how much it weighs.
Yeah.
But like in the old days, I used to work at a radio station and we made stuff all the time. UPS had a scale at our location, and we had to use the UPS scale, and it communicated over the internet to UPS so that we couldn't snitch. You know what I mean? Couldn't lie about it.
Gotcha.
But a lot of the more modern platforms will allow you to just type in a weight, and the volume at which they're shipping allows them to absorb the few people who are going to snitch.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Miroslav says, if I could do it at my office, home, etc., rather than go to the post office, he uses WooCommerce, by the way. So,
okay.
So yeah, it just depends on the platform. It depends on how you want to ship it and how you want to get that all set up, right?
Yeah.
We have options.
Yep.
Now, Trevor's asking. Trevor says that you said that WooCommerce saves information on the site. So WooCommerce, isn't it passing through? Like if you connect WooCommerce to Stripe, for example, doesn't it pass through the information, not actually storing the credit card information on your WordPress databases? Is that correct?
Right. WooCommerce doesn't save credit card information, but it does save all of the other customer information.
Correct.
So where you live, your phone number, and anything else you might be arbitrarily collecting. There are lots of plugins to allow you to put custom fields in WooCommerce, and
Mhm.
save them. And
Okay,
it
so
is
that's
not unheard of.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
so that's the stuff you have to be watching out for
Exactly.
as far as the compliance stuff. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
I was hoping
And-
that there was no credit card information. That's one of the reasons I went with
Yeah.
somebody other than me
Right.
swiping something.
Yeah.
Good thinking. The other thing is, it's not just
So-
about PCI compliance, though. You have to make sure that if you're selling outside of the United States, you have to make sure you're GDPR compliant, that you have a statement
Yes.
about what kind of information you're collecting, how it's being used, how people can remove their information from your site. Like, there's a lot of research that goes into collecting information on the website, whether it's e-commerce or not. And we can talk more about that another time. I could probably get Hans and Donata in to talk about all of the terms and conditions that we should have on our website. But in general, make sure that if you're collecting any information, that you're at the very least letting people know how you're using it.
Exactly.
Just my 2 cents worth. Let's see.
Yeah.
Sarah says she worked in an office where they did daily shipping and used a postage meter and had a shipping scale. It cost around $25. So you can get a postage meter. I had one in my office for a while. Just got it on Amazon, and that's how I was able to ship through the United States Postal Service and print things off. So like, there are lots of options, of course. Shipping is one of the biggest headaches to figure out, but once you got a well-oiled machine in place, it usually works pretty well. So,
Miroslav,
mhm.
the GDPR compliance is required for anyone doing business with anyone in Europe.
Correct.
So you may be in Canada, but if a German person buys something from you, you have to be GDPR compliant, or somebody can sue
Right.
you, no matter where you are in the world.
I did say outside of the U.S., and that is true. It's only over in the U.K., but in Europe. So, but if you're gonna sell outside of the U.S. at all, then that usually incorporates Europe, and so you need to make sure that you are compliant that way. That's why I said it the way I did.
But maybe not. If it's most platforms will allow you to say, I only sell in these countries, and you're in Canada. If you just say, I only sell in Canada, then you don't have to think about GDPR.
Right. That's true. So, what other questions? You're welcome to unmute yourself and ask questions now at this point too. It doesn't have to, we don't have to read them. I just had that for while we were, so we wouldn't lose track of our questions while we were watching the presentation. But
Yeah. Miroslav asked another Miroslav asked another GDPR question that I don't know the answer to, but I'm going to guess that I can figure it out awfully quick. Yep. There's a site called Reciprocity that just lists all the countries that are involved.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Croatia does use the GDPR.
It is not a bad idea to cover yourself, whether you're targeting those nations or selling to those nations anyway, regardless where they are. Being GDPR compliant basically does not really put that much extra work into it. You definitely have to have some things prepared up front, but it's just best practices, even if you aren't planning to sell over in Europe at all.
California now has a law similar to GDPR that is more restrictive.
Yep.
And so if you think you might ever sell to anyone in California, then you have to do all the same kind of stuff.
Yep.
It's quite uncomfortable.
Yeah, so try not to go for the lowest common denominator when it comes to compliance. Try to make sure that you're being more encompassing, and then you're more likely to make sure that you're not going to get into trouble anywhere.
Yeah. So Californian law.
It's really recent, isn't it?
Yeah, we just turned it on our servers in the last couple months.
Yeah. I remember Donata
called?
talking about it too.
It's called the CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act. It went into effect January 1st, 2020, with some exceptions. So
definitely,
it was not very popular with all the people who had to do all of the horrible coding to make it compliant.
No, we talked a little bit you talked a lot about actual physical products, but you can use something like BigCommerce, Shopify, WooCommerce for digital products as well, and for services, correct?
Yep. You can. You should look carefully at other software that sells services specifically, because they're going to be more streamlined. For example, Jim was talking about selling courseware.
Mm-hmm.
My wife, for last few months now, has been writing case studies for Lifter LMS, which is a WordPress-based learning management system,
Mm-hmm.
about setting up basically exactly what Jim described.
Right.
And it comes with the software to make payments and to buy that stuff. So you wouldn't necessarily need an e-commerce platform specifically. It's gonna come with that. There's also a relatively new, very, very nice Zoom WordPress plugin.
Really?
That allows you, it allows you to basically embed a Zoom event in a WordPress page, and the entire lifespan of the Zoom event. So you make a page, you put in the short code, and it says, hey, the Zoom event is going to be at this date and at this time. Click here to sign up. And at the right time, it swaps it out for the video. And if you're not signed up, you don't get to see it. So you can manage, restricted viewing and all the stuff. It archives it. It's really, really cool.
Cool.
So you combine something like that with Lifter LMS, and you've got your course.
Absolutely. Do you hear that, Jim?
Yeah, it's really slick.
Yes, very, very interesting. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kathy, make sure you're writing that down.
Think of that plugin in the chat.
It's just one more thing I need to integrate, because I'm managing my cameras and all that with vMix.
Yeah.
And feeding that into Zoom, and what's one more thing to figure out.
Well, there are people who will take your money and do it for you.
Already written down, Michelle.
Oh, good. Jamin, you had a question or a comment? What was that?
The link of that plugin in the chat.
Oh.
Yeah, he linked the Zoom plugin.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's awesome.
And then I put in two different learning management systems, Lifter LMS and LearnDash. They're both really good.
Yep. Absolutely.
Trevor, both of those LMSs have seen an enormous spike in business in the last 4 months, because of people teaching yoga at home and music and all that stuff.
Absolutely. I think Trevor has done some online coursework before. What did you use for online coursework, Trevor?
I had started to play with Lifter LMS, and then they went from free to charge. And I looked into other things and went with LearnDash. Although I'll be honest, I have not charged anything yet for a Lifter class, or excuse me, a LearnDash class.
Yeah. You should.
But I hope to someday. Yes.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, my wife's
bucket
doing
list.
these case studies. Yeah, my wife's doing these case studies one after another, and it's people who are like, "Oh man, I needed to leverage my knowledge somehow, so I put up a LearnDash or a Lifter site, and then I started making money selling this stuff." I'm like, "Oh man, that's cool. I need to do that."
Let's do that.
Oh wait,
yeah.
I already have a job.
How many jobs can I do?
Are these LMS systems similar to like the Craftsy that just crashed and burned?
Similar to what? I don't know which one you're talking about.
Well, there was Craftsy was a place where you could go buy classes for crafting, knitting, and wood turning, and quilting and whatnot. And it just kind of folded here, I guess, this month or next month. And I don't, LMS is that's a place where you upload and store your class and they manage everything, or is it a plugin that goes into WordPress that we then own and manage?
Lifter LMS is a plugin, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
the ones we're talking about are both WordPress plugins.
Yeah, exactly. If you go with something like Teachable, that is one where you put it onto their servers. Or wait, I'm sorry. No, that's not quite true. Teachable, I think, it's a hosted thing that's not WordPress. But I think there's different levels for what you can do for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There are so many different
I recommend something.
options.
Yeah, I recommend something like Lifter where you put it right in WordPress.
It's all and that is proprietary to you. Nobody's taking a percentage of your, your classes or charging that way. You're just paying for licensing the software.
Right.
And then does it just sit on your site only? It's not, like at YouTube or Facebook or anyplace else?
It depends on how you integrate it.
Yeah, I mean, if you choose to put your videos on YouTube to host them there, then that's involved. But you don't have to. I mean, you can keep everything right in WordPress.
I mean, we don't recommend that you store a lot of video on WordPress. It's just going to slow everything the heck down. But you can do what you like.
Right. It seems like most people will use something like Vimeo, where you have a little bit more control than you do on YouTube. And from our last meeting, somebody mentioned that or I think it was Chris Clemens, mentioned that if you hide things on YouTube, but then put them behind a paywall somewhere, they will find you eventually.
Yes.
Whereas with Vimeo or Amazon Web Services, you pay up front to hide it and host it.
Yes.
Wistia is another really good one. A lot of education places use Wistia.
I've heard that one recently.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then there are other things like actually digital, right? So I sell a digital product. It's an annual fee.
Yeah.
We use Easy Digital Downloads for that. And so Easy Digital Downloads lets you do license management and things like that. So it depends on what you're selling and what the best case scenario, best fit for that is as well.
Right.
Is Easy Digital Downloads just for like, PDFs and ebooks and whatnot, or is it also allow you to do videos?
Anything digital.
Non-physical things.
Correct.
So even beyond digital, you can sell tickets to things.
Anything you want to put behind a paywall. So like even just particular pages on your website that they get access to after they pay for it. So video can be stored that way. We both have friends that work there, don't we, Topher?
Yeah, I used to work there.
Did you? I didn't know that.
I did, yep. I wrote a lot of the documentation when I was there.
Very nice. Other questions about e-commerce? We're going to open up the floor in just a few minutes to any other questions about anything else. Topher, you are welcome to hang out and see what kinds of things we talk about. You have so much experience.
All right.
Might want to jump in too.
We shall see.
Yeah. And then if we have a few minutes, I'm going to let Topher. I'm also going to, at the end, just before I forget, I do want to talk a little bit at the end and give you a little platform to talk about HeroPress too. But let's finish up the conversation about e-commerce here first. So dropshipping and BigCommerce, how does that work together?
We use integrations with dropshipping companies. So I'm gonna go over here to our integrations page, and just off the bat, I see 9 that we work with. There's Printful, Sunrise Wholesale, AliExpress Dropshipping, the T-Shirt Gang, AliExpress Dropshipping. There's a whole bunch of them. Excuse me. So you might end up paying a little bit per month to do the drop shipping, but we have good integration with it.
Nice. The next question was about selling tickets, Eventbrite versus doing it on your own site with a plugin. What are your thoughts? I mean, I have thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts, though.
Yeah. That's a religious question, and we don't do that here.
Isn't that kind of like so who's the best hosting company, and what's the best form plugin?
There are absolutely pros and cons for both, and you have to figure out which one it is for you. Eventbrite handles a lot of headache, and they charge you money for that, and they own your data. If you don't want them to own your data, then you shouldn't use them. If you're good at it, if you like, you've done a bunch of events and you know how it works, set something up in WordPress and don't use Eventbrite. If you've never done this before, probably use some kind of event service, because then you can focus on your event rather than selling tickets.
If you're really focused on tickets and that kind of sales as opposed to other e-commerce, I would even recommend something like using like the calendar plugin from Modern Tribe, or the all-in-one Timely all-in-one events calendar, because they have add-ons. Yes, you're going to pay for them, but they have add-ons that do ticketing. And can do ticket management. So you're not like, oh man, I sold 500 tickets, but I only have 40 seats, you know, so you don't have to watch it that closely. That work a lot like Eventbrite, but keep all of that information on your website. And they do the third party payments, like connecting to Stripe, et cetera. So you're not storing any of that credit card data on your website either. Yeah. Good questions. Do you want to give us a little bit about HeroPress? Tell us a little bit about that, so that if you do have to, you know, cut out before the end of the meeting, we haven't missed out on that opportunity.
Yeah.
That's how, by the way, that's how Topher and I first met, is I watched him do a presentation at WordCamp US, either 15 or 16, one of the first ones there. And he was up there talking about HeroPress, and I approached him afterwards and asked questions like, oh my gosh, he's like a celebrity. No, he's not. So yeah, tell us what HeroPress is.
Now here we are. Now here we are with Michelle as a celebrity.
I don't know about that, but
okay. Jamin already knows about HeroPress. Who doesn't know about HeroPress? All right.
Lots of people.
At least 2.
Yeah. 3, 4,
so,
5, yeah.
HeroPress is a blog that I curate. I don't write. I've done a few blog posts, but the content comes from people who have leveraged WordPress somehow to make their lives better. So originally it started out, it was going to be people on what we refer to as the fringes of WordPress. So it's really easy to go to a WordCamp in the US or Europe or Australia. But when I got started with this 5 years ago, there weren't many WordCamps outside of that and very few meetups. When HeroPress started, there were no WordCamps in India. Now there are 8 or 9. And so I wanted to reach out to people who lived far away from the rest of us and get their story. They're using WordPress. How? What's it doing for them? So I have essays from people in Malawi, the poorest country in the world, about how they're using WordPress to make a living. I have essays from young single moms in the U.S. who are able to have a full-time job with insurance and stay home with their kids and not have to put them in daycare. People who are forced into a second career because they retired out of one or were retired out of one. Boy, the list goes on. People from all over the world. There's like 300 essays now. I think the only continent I don't have is Antarctica, and I'm actually working on that.
So funny you say that, because I'm doing the same thing for Coffee Talk. I'm like literally searching for blogs I can connect with in Antarctica. So yeah.
Nice. Here's a good source for you. Go to translate.wordpress.org. And pick a language, and they're going to have a coordinator.
Ooh, I love it.
So you want somebody who speaks Croatian? There's the place to find it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so HeroPress is all about how WordPress has helped people. There's Yoast has a policy of paying people a pretty flat wage. So they don't, if you live in a economically repressed country, they don't pay you less because you need less. They pay you the same as if you lived in London, which is quite a lot. So there's a guy who lives in Bangladesh, who is a WordPress developer. And it used to be he lived 5 hours from his family and got to see them once a year because he had to go to the city to make money. And when he started working for Yoast, he was able to move back home, and he supports his entire village off his salary because the entire village doesn't need as much as if you lived in London or the US even. And so because of his ability to work with WordPress and WordPress's ability to employ people no matter where they are in the world, he's able to support the whole village. So as I said, there's more than 300 stories now, and many of them are very, very deeply meaningful. People's lives have been deeply changed by the WordPress community and their ability to work remote and to live the life they need. It's really great. I often say that I am the most blessed person because of it. People tell me all the time, "Oh, I love HeroPress. It's amazing. It helps me. It cheers me up. It brings me through the day." And I don't think anybody in the world gets as much out of it as I do, getting to know all those people and hear all those stories.
It is inspirational, that's
Michelle?
for sure. I do.
You know what it's
That's
like.
how
You meet people and you hear their story.
That's why I do coffee talk.
It's something else.
Yep. I absolutely love it.
HeroPress.com.
Yep. Jamin says many people in India are able to consume HeroPress's content because it's in multi-languages. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And if you're worried
that's
that you can't read
relatively
it,
new.
yeah, you can let your website translate it for you. You can read anybody's in any language. That's why the internet's
Yeah.
amazing. So if you want, if you're like, well, I can't read it because I only speak English. Let Google translate it for you. You can still read it.
In the last 6 months or so, I started asking people to give it to me both in English and their first language. And so if you look in a sidebar, you can see the different languages.
Yeah. Yeah, Jamin says it's not always accurate to use Google Translate. That's correct. But since I can't read Bangla and I can't read Hindi, that's how I can at least get the gist of the story.
It's not always accurate, but it is always hilarious.
Yes, and you can always usually get the gist of things. You can understand, for the most part, what people are trying to say, even if it's not a perfect translation.
Yeah.
So. Let's open up the floor. What questions do you have about WordPress in general? Anything specifically for Topher while we have him here? It doesn't have to be, related to that, but we can talk about anything. So we have, another 50 minutes if we want to, or we can always cut out early too if that's the way people want to go. But I want to open up the floor. And you don't have to type your question. Unmute yourself and get involved in the conversation. Or I'm just going to keep talking.
Don't everybody speak at once.
I was going to say, or I'm just going to keep talking and y'all hear enough of me.
All right, well, I'll give see a really cool plugin?
Yeah, show us.
Okay.
Jamin, you can keep typing. It's okay.
Give me a sec. I'll share my screen again.
While you're doing that, I'm going to give a shameless plug for Friday at 5 o'clock. I am doing an online event for my 1-year anniversary of WP Coffee Talk. So if you go to wpcoffeetalk.com, you can see the sign up for the annual or the 1-year celebration. I would love to have you all there for that call. Okay, show us the really cool plugin.
Okay, so this is not specifically, this is not specifically an e-commerce plugin, but you can use it with BigCommerce. I don't know if you remember, but in the early days of the web, there was a thing called image maps. And you take a photo and you would say, this section of it is a link to here. And this section is a link somewhere else. And this is the same idea, but it's using SVGs and much better technology than image maps. And so this is a WordPress plugin. So you would just load this image into WordPress and you just draw your frame. And it doesn't have to be squares. It can be Oh, that's a video. Here, let me show you my favorite demo. Nope, showcase. So this is a site where this guy makes money by selling stuff via affiliate codes on Amazon. So he wants you to buy that monitor by clicking here. And so he bought all this stuff and he set it up in his house and took this picture. And now you can hover over bits and pieces. You can see how this is absolutely not a square. And then when you click, it brings up this little window with a link to his Amazon affiliate code. But I was just blown away by some of his offices. This like a water-cooled computer hanging on the wall. There's the little mouse and
cool
the
stuff right
keyboard
there.
and speakers. Yeah, the chair, the foam on the walls. So I talked to them about making it work with BigCommerce. And so now you can highlight a thing and choose a product from your store. And so when you click here, it brings up the product modal and you can buy. But I loved the idea of image maps way long ago, and it was a terrible technology, but it was neato. And I'm just so happy as a web developer to know that it's kind of back.
Yeah, but in a much more supported way, it looks like, huh?
Yeah. So see this duffel bag thing, you can mouse over all the things. This is the same plugin. So rather than click to bring up a thing, it's doing it on the side. So I want to see. Nobody's done it yet. There isn't a store using this yet. So I'm really excited for the really excited for the person to do it. But you could mouse over what's in my bag and sell it.
It'd be funny if it was Matt Mullenweg's, because he does once a year. He does what's in my bag, right?
Yes.
Like that man needs more affiliate links.
I'll bet he would use WooCommerce.
I'm sure he would. I'm sure he would.
All right. I'm done dominating.
Sarah, do you want to talk for a minute or two about the WordCamp this fall?
I sure do. WordCamp Rochester is going to be our first ever virtual WordCamp. We have I think we have all of the organizers on here right now. Maybe we lost Marianne. But we made a commitment to going virtual. So we are in the tail end of accepting speaker proposals, which you can get to at the link that I just posted. And it will be free. All virtual WordCamps are free. So please block off your time. And I think most of us just attended WordCamp Kent last weekend. Mm-hmm. So that was neat to see just how the virtual WordCamps are evolving already and how much better they're getting. So by the time we get to us in October, it's going to be awesome.
Sure.
Is it basically Zoom meetings or what is it?
That's to be determined. We actually have a meeting tomorrow with the production vendor that we're going to be using. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's like it was for WordCamp Kent, it's going to be embedded in the website. So it's not a Zoom meeting like this where you ask questions. This way you can ask questions through a chat that's actually functioning through YouTube.
Yep. Yeah, it worked really well over the weekend. It was.
Yeah, they had over 1,000 people. Can you imagine if you were trying to have a Zoom meeting for over 1,000 people?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Miroslav, WordCamp Kent was not the first virtual WordCamp. I think San Antonio was.
Yeah.
And then, San Antonio has been. Also, Santa Clarita was. And now WordCamp Kent. And then WordCamp Denver is coming up at the end of this month, is also going to be virtual. And I think Minneapolis is also going to be virtual if they're still going to be able to go ahead with theirs. So to answer those questions. Sarah, anything else you want to say?
Nope. Other than if you want to speak, even if you're doing it for the first time, we'll help. So you can get your speaker submissions in. I'm also going to post a link to the WordCamp schedules. So if you want hop onto any other of the online WordCamps that are coming up, you can find the whole list at that link and check them out.
Thanks for sharing all those. That's great.
Definitely. Yeah, so I was able to go behind the scenes at WordCamp Kent. I just got on the Slack channel, talked to somebody there, and they actually have a producer, and this is the same company that we're meeting with tomorrow. I don't know whether we'll use them or not, but there was a producer who was in his studio watching the feed, and he had the speaker's webcam, the speaker's website, or, you know, their screen, and was, you know, jumping back and forth between the different shots. And then there was somebody from the WordCamp who was monitoring the comments. And then when people would ask questions, or at the end, they would ask the questions to the speaker. So people were typing into the YouTube live comments, and she was answering, or she was asking the questions of the speaker, and then the speaker could answer them right there.
Yeah, I was a speaker at WordCamp Kent yesterday morning, so I was not able to see the questions, and the moderator was the person that would then ask them. So it worked very, very well.
Yep. And I think they were running it, well, actually, I know they were running it through Zoom. So the person who was speaking was doing a Zoom call. The person who was watching it was looking at it on YouTube.
Exactly.
Hey, folks, I'm going to take off and eat supper with my family.
Tell Kate and the girls I said hi.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Topher. It was very informative.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here.
Good food
Yeah,
for thought.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, Topher? I'll get the slides from him in case anybody's interested. I think I have them from before, but I'll go ahead and post those, or get him to post those in our Facebook meetup.
So Miroslav, I see your question up there, and it looks like Sarah already answered it. So yes, you do not have to be from Rochester to speak at our conference.
Exactly.
But if you are from Rochester, you should be speaking at our conference. I don't know why you haven't all applied yet.
Exactly.
And I'm going to point in that general direction of wherever all the speakers are. I won't single anybody out.
Give me a topic.
Did you need something, Michelle? I heard you call me.
Oh, I was trying to grab you before you left to say, if you could share with us the, in Facebook, or send to me, I'll share the link in our Facebook group to the slides. So if people want to go back over them later, they can see them.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Have a good night.
Yep.
Bye.
So Jim, we would like to have a beginner track. So holy crap, I need a website would be fine. Or an updated version of that, if you have one.
Even if you've given it at Rochester before, this is going to be a global audience. So it's going to be an opportunity for people far outside the Rochester area to be able to see it.
Right.
Oh, the pressure's on.
I suppose I could probably muster up, bring it up to date, and change some pictures and whatnot. But
that's right, Sarah. Arms, strong arm.
Depends on how much beer is in it for me.
Hey,
sorry, but this WordCamp is BYOB.
So basically, that means as much as you want to buy.
Right. And the good part is you don't have to drive home.
Exactly. And you don't even have to wear pants because we won't know.
I mean,
the other day I gave, this is not really WordPress oriented enough. I think at the Rochester Consultants, I did a slideshow when we were Zooming on domains and URLs, because of the fact that they've blossomed. We've got like over 1,000 top level domains now. I think it's more than that. And introducing people to that. And I because it's not WordPress, I haven't suggested that I should do it, but since it's come up now, I was intending to ask you about it, Michelle. It was about a 30-minute program.
Yeah, I'd say go ahead and apply. You never know what might really stick with the committee. I'm not on committee this year, so.
Who does it go to?
You have to go to the website. Sarah posted the link.
Okay.
But Sarah, will you post the link in our Facebook group as well again?
Yep.
That'd be great.
It
that
is.
way you have to find it there.
Yeah, and it's 2020.rochester.wordcamp.org.
Perfect.
Does everybody know how to say?
And that
And-
sounds like an interesting talk.
Wait a minute. Say that again. I can't write that fast.
2020.rochester.
Yeah. Okay.
.wordcamp.org. So every WordCamp this
Okay.
year has that same format, just the city.
Okay.
Different state.
Different.
And Jamin just said he just applied from the other side of the world. So there you go.
Yay!
Yay.
And one other note, if you're not interested in being a speaker, is that we will be looking for volunteers too. We don't have that all in place yet for a virtual WordCamp, but we'll be needing people to be monitoring each session to help with the chat, as Trevor mentioned, to be interacting between the speaker and the chat, questions and comments from the audience.
Exactly, and to monitor for code of conduct violations and things like that as well.
Right.
Does everybody know how to save a copy of this chat? If you bring up the chat window, at the bottom, there's 3 dots.
I can't hear you. Jim, can you speak a little louder?
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. You can save a copy of this chat. If you go to the chat window, at the bottom right, there's a little box with the three dots in it. If you, it says more. If you click on that, it says save chat. So periodically through the evening, I press that button and save a copy of the chat. And it saves it to your hard disk in the Zoom folder, and that way everybody has a copy of the notes from a meeting like this.
Thanks, Jim. That's very handy. I didn't know you could do that.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
I also just shared a link if anybody's interested in joining our Slack channel. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jim.
I also one of the groups that I presented to, they sent me the directions on how to download the participants list, and it's very it's well hidden within Zoom. We'll put it that way. But once you get it, I was surprised because those the attendees that have Zoom accounts and whatnot, you get their email addresses and all that. It was pretty slick, but you got to jump through hoops and you know, I mean it's kind of challenging, but there is a process of getting the participants. So if we have a big meeting, there's a way to go do that, for the host to do that. FYI.
Okay, Sarah, I want to know what you did with your lighting there. It looks great.
You're muted.
Unmute yourself, please.
I said I have nothing fancy. I just got this kind of like an old sunlight, some special thing supposedly, and then I have a lamp from Lowe's, like just a nightstand lamp, and then my my windows behind me. That's it. So I think it's just more having light on both sides, maybe.
Probably the light on both sides and those nice yellow walls.
Yeah. Yep. Light colored walls. Yep.
So I was having all sorts of issues with lighting on my videos, and a friend of mine has a similar setup, and he had really nice lighting. So I asked him about it, and he goes, "Oh yeah, it's my $1,000 light that I had from when I had a photography business." And I said, "Well, that's not my budget." So he sent me a link to this YouTube video where a guy took a 14-inch cake pan and bought a LED strip light, 16-foot LED strip light, and you just tape it on the inside of the pan and put a white diffuser over it. So I got a $20 pan, I got a $16 LED light with a dimmer switch and a plug, and I don't know, $3 worth of white ripstop nylon. And I just, I made, having access to workshops and things like that, I put brackets and whatnot on it so I can put it on a tripod. but for basically $50, I got $1,000 light that is very bright and works great. And so there are ways of doing things inexpensively.
Absolutely, that's fantastic.
I think the camera makes a difference too. If you're like you're on an old laptop with a webcam that's old. I mean, I have an external camera, but it's just one that my dad was getting rid of. So I'm like, I'll try it out. But it's certainly probably a better quality than what my laptop might be.
So I think we as a group, we all need to start bringing books to meetings and giving them to Diana, because she just doesn't have nearly enough books behind her.
Yes.
Very funny.
So I have a question though. I was trying to add the Slack channel onto my account, and I have no idea how to do it. I attempted, and I don't know what I'm doing with Slack yet.
You clicked that link and you tried to go ahead and.
Well, I was trying to add it through do I have to click that link, or, because I was trying to add it through my app, the Slack app.
Okay, but you have to join the channel first. So you have to click that link to join the channel, and then you can add it to your app. Unless you're already in the channel, I don't know.
Probably not.
Okay.
So Jim, is it like a mixing bowl?
No, it's a 14-inch by 3-inch high cake pan.
Okay.
I bought it at a restaurant supply over in Henrietta at the public market.
Okay. And how did you attach the lights to it?
They're just
just glued?
No, it comes in a little roll about this big, and it's got peel and stick tape on it.
Okay, and you just use the peel and stick.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it goes around about 4 or 5 times on the inside of the pie tin, and then I cut out a little piece of block of wood that matched the radius, and I put a quarter inch threaded insert in it, and so I can put it on a tripod.
Okay.
And I drilled a 1/2-inch hole, and I put a grommet in it so I could feed the wire through.
Seeing the different lighting.
Yeah. So you can, there it's dim. That's actually a little better. It was too bright before, but so for $50, it's a pretty nice light.
Okay.
And so I can use it when I'm in my shop and whatnot.
Right.
Now, I made the mistake when I reoriented my lathe. I no longer had overhead lights, so I went out and I bought a big LED, 4-foot strip light to put over my lathe, and it's like having an arc welder in my workshop. It's too bright.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you get that at Harbor Freight?
Well, I got it at Walmart because they were cheaper that week at Walmart, but it's not. Okay. It's unfortunately a non-dimmable LED.
I spent some money on a shop light, and it's like 5,000 lumens.
Yeah.
And a regular light bulb is about 800 lumens. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like an arc welder.
Yes.
But anyways, I mean, lighting is important, and then of course audio is important.
Right.
Damon asked what light I have. I'd have to go and look at I got it on Amazon. It's a ring light. So if I have it too low, you can actually see big circles in my glasses, which is why I have it up and tilted down. And then I can change the brightness on it and the color, etc. But if I put it too bright, then it's like flashing me out. So I'm careful about that. But I'm looking for the link of the one I purchased. But they're about, I think I paid $40, $45, something like that for mine. But it's not, it's just for sitting here at my laptop. It isn't for all the really cool stuff that Jim does. So you definitely have to do your research on what it is that you want to do. Mine only has to light this. Jim has to light a whole lot more.
Oh yeah. And whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise I would build my own, but yeah, that's not going to happen. I might hire Jim to build one for me, but I'm not going to build my own.
I tell you, it's been really fascinating watching this this Facebook group I got involved with just explode. You know, right place at the right time. You know, all these fiber festivals around the country have been canceled. You know, so you have all these people who raise sheep and whatnot trying to sell their fibers, and so this woman, less than 2 months ago, decided that she was going to form a group. You know, a lot of Facebook groups you can't sell on. You know, one's informational, one you can sell on. I mean, you know, and you get nasty grams if you post the wrong thing and whatnot. So this woman wanted to have an environment where it's both educational and a selling platform. And so when I got involved with it, I think I was one of the first 200 members in it. Well, she's well on her way past 7,000 now in a month and a half. I mean, this thing is just taken off, and she's now run her initial sale. She wanted to have. She was going. Her dream was to run it from 8 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday, and give people a half-hour time slot. So she was looking for 24 vendors, and she was worried she wasn't going to get it. Well, she had 100 vendors interested in participating. So her first weekend, she went from noon on Friday afternoon to 11 o'clock Sunday night. And then over Memorial Day, she ran 130 vendors through it, going from 8 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I mean, it's just blossomed. And, you know, people are posting educational videos on it. They're, I mean, it's just, they're doing group activities together. I mean, it's just a fascinating study to watch how this thing has grown. I mean, they've gone out, they've done a YouTube channel, they've got an Instagram account. They got something else going on. You know, they've got the main site, then they have the behind the scenes for just the vendors. You know, she's really pulled this thing all together to take it from 0 to, you know, 7,000, you know, members has been amazing. You know, so yeah, the sale was what, 2 weekends ago, and I'm still getting orders from it.
Wow, that's amazing.
You know, just the exposure that I've gotten I've gotten more exposure through her site in the last 45 days than I had in the last 10 years on some of these other sites.
Wow.
So just an amazing study to see how social media and whatnot can work.
Exactly. I also just posted a link to, Sarah just posted a link to her headset. Oh, that's very cool. I posted a link to my coffee talk 1-year anniversary party this Friday, if anybody's able to join me. I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do it, if I'm going to use Zoom or how I'm going to do it. So I do ask for an RSVP so that I can make sure I get back to you with the proper link later if I decide to do a Zoom call or if I'm going to embed it with Jitsi or something like that. I haven't quite decided yet. Looking up the best way to do that. So if you're interested in joining me online, I would love to see you there. I'm very excited to be celebrating a year and over 100 episodes recorded already, which is pretty cool.
And they've been very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, I just posted the one last night with Marika van der Ocht, the CEO at Yoast. That was pretty cool. I haven't decided which one's going to go out tomorrow, but it might depend on whether or not I've heard back from some of the people that I've already recorded with that were supposed to send me their show notes, and I haven't got them yet. So, but it'll be a surprise. Maybe I'll do Chris Badgett from Lifter LMS. I could put his out there. I did one with him. That'd be kind of cool to hear. But yeah, it's kind of exciting. I'm going to try to do one a day this week so we can celebrate on Friday. It's just a lot of processing, a lot of video processing. That stuff takes forever. But my new laptop does it very, very quickly, and I'm so happy. So.
What did you get?
So I got a MacBook Pro, and it was actually a gift from over 40 people in the WordPress community. A friend of mine, unbeknownst to me, did a fundraiser online, getmichellenewlaptop.com. She used GiveWP to do it, and 40 people said, "Yeah, it's okay. Tell her who I am." And so I had a list of 40 people that I was able to reach out to and say thank you to. But the first part of quarantine, as I sat here working on a machine that was still working, but very, very slowly, I can process a 45-minute video now in about 20 minutes. Before, it was taking anywhere from 2 to 7 hours to process. So you can see how much faster I'm able to do my job, my volunteer job, whatever, my passion. And just completely, I mean, you all know me. I cry real easy. When a laptop gets delivered to me, signed by over 40 people in the WordPress community globally, the waterworks turned on and I just cried like crazy. So grateful. But yeah, so I have a MacBook Pro, and oh my gosh, it's my dream machine. So I'm so happy.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Thank you. It was quite a surprise, and very, very appreciated.
How are things going with your situation, Trevor, with going down, was it Staten Island or wherever you were going all the time?
So we were going down to outside of Philadelphia.
Or Philly, yeah.
Yep, and we have not been back. I came back, so we had 13th was the day, or the 12th of March was the day that they canceled, or they went all online. It was only supposed to be till the end of March. But our spring break was starting the 13th or the 14th. I was down there till about Thursday. I came back up, and I haven't been back down since. And my wife came up the following week, like the 23rd or something like that. And we've just been staying up here. So haven't gotten anything done down there. But luckily we have some good neighbors who have been going over, getting the mail, just making sure that everything is fine with it. So
good.
It's waiting for us. We're probably going to go back sometime before the 4th of July, knock on wood, and get it finished.
See where Terry, I can never pronounce her last name.
Bye, Jamin.
Partham. How do you say Terry's last name?
Partham.
Partham. Her mom passed away.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I did see that.
Which is probably why she's not here tonight.
Yeah. Very sad.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to cut out. So bye, guys.
Bye, Diana.
Thank you for the information.
See you, Diana.
Bye, Diana.
Sure. I'm going to stop the recording, but we can keep talking.